When you see a motor on site from outside, it may look like simple cylindrical machine with a shaft coming out. But inside that body, there are many other components, and every component has a specific role and all work together to make a motor reliable. So in this video, we are going to understand the basic construction of an induction motor. We will also look at the important components, their construction details, and why each part is important from a practical industry point of view. Welcome to the video 3 of induction motor series. Let us start with the big picture. An induction motor is mainly has two active parts, stator and rotor. The stator is the stationary part of the motor. It does not rotate, it carries the stator winding, and this is the part where we connect the three-phase AC supply. The rotor is the rotating part of the motor. It is placed inside the stator and it is connected to the shaft. When torque is developed, the rotor rotates and delivers the mechanical output through the shaft. So the basic construction is simple. Stationary part outside, rotating part inside. But to make this simple idea work reliably in industry, many other parts are also required. That is why we will understand the motor part by part. First, let us discuss the stator. The stator is the outer stationary magnetic part of the motor. It is made up of a stator frame, stator core, and stator winding. The stator frame is the outer body of the motor. It gives mechanical support to the entire motor. It holds the stator core, supports the end shields, protects the internal parts, and also helps in heat dissipation. In small and medium motors, the frame is commonly made up of cast iron, aluminum, or fabricated steel depending on the application and of course the motor design. Cast iron frames are strong and commonly used in industrial motors. Aluminum frames are lighter and are often used in smaller motors. Now inside the frame, we have the stator core. The stator core is made up of thin laminated steel sheets. These thin sheets are stacked together to form the complete core. Now, why do we use a laminated sheets instead of one solid block of steel? Because the stator is carrying the alternating magnetic field. If we use a solid iron core, large circulating current called eddy currents will be induced inside the core. These eddy currents produce heat and waste energy. So to reduce eddy current loss, the core is made up of thin laminations. Each lamination is insulated from the other. This increases the resistance to eddy current flow and reduces the heating. This is also applicable to the transformers. So whenever you hear that the stator core is laminated, remember the reason: to reduce eddy current losses and improve efficiency. The stator core has slots on its inner surface. These slots are used to place the stator winding. Now let us understand the stator winding. The stator winding is made up of insulated copper or aluminum conductor placed inside the stator slots. In a three-phase induction motor, the winding is arranged in such a way that when three-phase supply is connected, it produces a rotating magnetic field. This is the main job of the stator winding. The three-phase winding are physically placed 120-degree electrical degrees apart from each other. When three-phase current flows through them, the combined magnetic field rotates around the stator. This rotating magnetic field is the starting point of induction motor operation. The winding insulation is also very important. The conductor itself carries current, but it must be properly insulated from the stator core and from the other conductors as well. If insulation fails, it can result in earth fault, face-to-face fault, or even the winding burns. In practical terms, the stator winding is one of the most critical part of the motor. If the winding fails, the motor usually needs rewinding or replacement. Now let us move towards the rotor. The rotor is the rotating part of the induction motor. It is placed inside the stator with a very small air gap between them. The rotor is mounted on the shaft and this shaft delivers the mechanical power to the load. There are mainly two types of rotor used in induction motor: squirrel cage rotor and slip ring rotor. Let us first understand the squirrel cage rotor because this is the most commonly used rotor in the industry. We'll discuss the slip ring motor later in a dedicated video. A squirrel cage rotor has laminated iron core mounted on the shaft, just like the stator. And just like the stator core, the rotor core is also laminated to reduce the eddy current losses. The rotor core has slots on its outer surface. Inside these slots, conducting bars are placed. These bars are usually made up of aluminum or copper. At both the ends, these bars are short-circuited by the end rings. Now, if you look at only the rotor bars and the end rings, the shape looks like a cage used for squirrels. And that is why it is called a squirrel cage rotor. In many small and medium motors, aluminum bars and the end rings are die cast directly to the rotor slot. This makes the rotor construction simple, strong, and economical. The most important point about the squirrel cage rotor is that we do not connect any external electrical supply to it. There is no brushes, there is no commutator, there is no slip rings in the standard squirrel cage rotor. The rotor current is induced by the rotating magnetic field of the stator. That is why this motor is called an induction motor. This simple rotor construction is one of the biggest reason why squirrel cage induction motors are so reliable. There are fewer parts that can wear out. There are no brushes to replace. There is no commutator sparking. So maintenance becomes relatively very simple. And that is why squirrel cage induction motors are widely used for pumps, fans, blowers, compressors, conveyors, machine tools, HVAC system, and many other industrial applications. Now, one more interesting construction detail is that the rotor slots are often slightly skewed. This means the rotor bars are not perfectly straight along the shaft, they are slightly angled. Now, why is skewing is done? Now, that slight angle helps reduce the magnetic locking between the stator and rotor teeth. It also helps reduce the noise, vibration, and torque pulsation. Because of this, the motor runs more smoothly. So even though the squirrel cage rotor looks simple, its design is carefully engineered for reliable operation. Now, the air gap between the stator and rotor is also very important. With an improper air gap, the motor will vibrate and the performance will degrade. We'll discuss the air gap in more detail in the next video. And this brings us to the next important component, bearings. Bearings supports the shaft and allow it to rotate smoothly with minimum friction. Without bearings, the rotor cannot rotate properly inside the stator. Bearing also helps in maintaining the correct air gap between stator and rotor. If bearing fails, the rotor position can shift. This can lead to maybe vibrations, noise, overheating, and in severe cases, rotor rubbing with the stator. Now, in induction motor, rolling element bearings are commonly used. This may be small bearing or roller bearing depending on the motor size, speed, and load conditions. Small and medium motors often use ball bearings. Larger motors or motors with higher radial load may use roller bearings. Many motor failure is in the industry are related to the bearing problems. And common bearing issues include lack of lubrications, over-greasing, contamination, misalignment, high vibration, excessive belt tension, and poor installation. Now, I've done a dedicated video where I've talked about the different failure reasons of induction motors. If you're interested in watching that, you'll get a link for it down in the description. Now, before we go to the next component, if you are finding this kind of practical videos helpful, do consider subscribing as it really helps the channel to reach more people who need such kind of easy and practical videos. And you'll also not miss updates on the upcoming videos if you subscribe. Now, if you find these videos helpful, you will also love the 100% practical courses I've created on substations, switch gears, power system, and electrical machines. You can check all the available courses on TheElectricalGuyAcademy.com. You'll also get this link down in the description. Now, let us talk about the end shield or the end covers. End shields are mounted on both the sides of the motor frame. They support the bearing and close the motor from both the ends. They also help maintain proper alignment between the stator, rotor, shaft, and bearings. If the end shield is damaged, improperly fitted, or worn out at the bearing housing, it can create alignment problems. This may lead to vibrations, bearing failures, or uneven air gap. So during the motor maintenance, the end cover should not be treated as the ordinary covers. They are important mechanical support parts. Now let us look at the cooling arrangement. During operation, the motor produces heat due to the copper losses, iron losses, friction losses, and stray losses. If this heat is not removed, the winding insulation can degrade. Most industrial induction motors use a cooling fan mounted on the shaft, usually at the non-drive end. When the shaft rotates, the fan also rotates and pushes air over the motor body. This type of motor is commonly called as TEFC, which means totally enclosed fan cooled. Totally enclosed does not mean fully sealed like a pressure vessel. It means the internal air is not freely open to the outside environment, and cooling happens mainly through the external surface with the help of a fan. The fan cover is also important. It protects the fan and helps guide airflow. If the fan cover is blocked by dust, cloth, packaging material, or installed too close to the wall, cooling will reduce. This can cause overheating. This is very common site issue. Sometimes the motor is healthy, the load is normal, and the current is normal, but the motor still overheats because the ventilation is poor. Now, there are another important components, that is the terminal box. This is where we will be connecting the incoming supply. Now, we'll talk about the terminal box in the next video. So, we discussed the key components of the induction motor, including the stator frame, core, winding, rotor, bearings, end shield, and other components. Now in the next video, we will go one step further and make your induction motor understanding rock solid. I'll be visiting a motor workshop and will disassemble a 100 HP induction motor and show you all the actual component live. Actual components, not the diagrams, not the animations. So if you're interested to see the actual induction motor components and looking forward to the next video, comment interested. That way I'll know you are interested in more such content, and will try to bring more and more such videos to the channel. So get subscribed so that you don't miss the update on the actual induction motor disassembly. This video was the part 3 of the induction motor series. If you're interested in watching the previous parts, you'll get link for the full playlist down in the description. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. But till then, keep watching, keep learning.